Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Yeah, I love when I get together with her because I feel we talk about things that a lot of us all are thinking about, wondering about, and maybe it provides some insight. So we're gonna dig into telling others how you feel. We're going to start with that today. She's an international best-selling author, speaker, heart-based energy intuitive. She's a Reiki master, heart math coach. She's a life coach and so much more. And she's live and direct from Cancun, Mexico on vacay. Becki Koon joins us on the program. Hey, Becki, how are you doing?
Steve. I'm doing great.
I just realized I haven't revealed myself. So there I am.
There you are. Wow.
Wait, you know what it is? I'm going to be honest. I forgot to turn on the camera. That's never happened before because I'm staring at your hotel room and
You're like, dang, I wish I was there.
Yes, I'm not even kidding. It brings comfort because, rooms look a certain way. And it's just like, wow, that's nice. And it brings back, I remember the time I was there, wherever it was.
Right.
It's just a great feeling. But I always hear, as soon as you walk into any hotel room, do not put your suitcase on the bed. You're putting the germs from the suitcase on. Yeah, right. And don't lay on that bedspread. Just, they don't wash it. That's all, I'm not trying to scare you, anything like that. But yeah, so you're taking a little R&R time in Mexico?
Well, a little bit of R&R, but life still happens.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you this. An astrologer told me last week, at this time, astrologically, we're going to find ourselves speaking our truth, speaking our feelings to the point where we just can't hold it in anymore. It's got to come out, for good or bad, but at least you purge. I find myself, I forgot about what she said, and I found myself doing just that. And then I remembered she did say that, at this time, this week, around the beginning of the week to the middle of the week, that will happen for lots of us.
Right.
Have you heard that? Have you experienced that? Just people being very honest.
Yeah. And it's starting to surface for all of us, and again, we seem to be going through this shift of energies of life, we're in this time of change. Not that we haven't always been, not that there isn't always change, but this seems to be a big evolution in humanity, in the way that we live, in the way that we experience life, and like an ascension, like we're evolving spiritually. Age of Aquarius, you've heard a lot of different terms, but with that also brings a level of, let's just say, vulnerability, a level of honesty, a level of awareness that we're just not going to hold things inside anymore. We need to be authentic, to be truly in who we are, and in our essence, who we came to be. We really need to be authentic, and we're being pulled and pulled and pulled continuously to step into authenticity. But with that authenticity can be speaking things that maybe we wouldn't have, maybe back, a little while back.
We just let it go. We just say, or bury it inside. It's like, I'm sure you do this. You say to yourself, fight your battles. It's not that big, but it's almost like the pressure cooker. It's cooking on the stove or whatever, and it just gets to a point where it's like, I can't do it anymore. I got to say something. I got to be honest. It doesn't matter where it is, relationship, work, your boss, whatever. You're just going to speak your mind. Of course, you may want to filter that before you do, for best outcome, best outcome.
Right.
But yeah, so this really is all a part of what you say, the age of Aquarius, moving into the next dimension, whether you're in the third and moving to the fourth, or maybe you're dipping your toe into what's called the fifth dimension. Maybe we should briefly explain what those are.
So right now we live in this beautiful physical form that is the vessel for soul. an essence within us that's greater than we are, that's part of a universal expression. And that's this density is, it's kind of a third dimensional. It's kind of a denser environment. It's our earth. It's what we live in, right? This third dimension of reality is what we experience day in, day out, working, jobs, families, relationships. But there's a concept of our evolution and going into a higher frequency, a little bit higher dimension. A fourth dimensional field is where you kind of, and it's a consciousness as much as anything, Steve. It's not like we're like literally going someplace else. This is what's happening. It's happening concurrently, all at the same time. We're living in this space. So it's like a consciousness. It's almost like we're standing in the third dimension, and all we have to do is turn, and we can be in a different dimensional field, fourth or fifth. So it's not like
that fast.
That fast. So because we all have glimpses of it. So like a fourth dimensional energy is where we kind of start thinking about, things are not as black and white as we thought. Things are a little bit, we start losing duality. We start realizing that things are always colored. They're not exactly how we maybe thought they were. And then you move into more of a fifth dimensional consciousness and an energy. And that's where we start realizing we're connected to everything. Like our soul essence, our energy field is connected to everything. We become one, and it's called unity consciousness. So we are moving towards a state of being as humanity where we really begin to recognize that we're connected to the earth, we're connected to each other, we're connected to the animals, we're connected to this beautiful cosmos, right? We're part of all of that. And so, yes, we are kind of moving through these fields of consciousness. But when we do that, we also experience, well, okay, but what does that mean then? How, like stepping into authenticity about how we really feel about things is part of that. Because if we stand in truth to who we are, if we stand in our truth, and we can't hide anymore. I guess maybe that's part of it too, is we're not going to be able to hide anymore, because we're going to feel it. It's going to want to move out of our body, because our body literally holds those energies.
You got to purge. It's at the point where it's got to go somewhere.
Yes.
And it's, whether it's coming out of your mouth or, I'm going to say this too. It may manifest in illness too, because if you don't take care of it. So questions on this whole moving from dimension to dimension, maybe to dimension. How do you know when you've gotten there or dipped your toe into the next dimension? So that's number one. And I guess the reasonable question is, how do we speed that up? Is it part of the process of now? Because as I understand it, you want to be in the fourth and fifth dimension. Great place to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how do we do it?
Well, so we're all dipping our toes in, and we go in and out, in and out, in and out. It's not like we're stable in moving forward at this point, because as we're doing it, we're literally bringing the consciousness of humanity into that too. So we're not doing it alone, and we're doing it with the earth, and we're doing it as the cosmos. It's kind of this really big play, and we're part of this real big play. I don't know how long it's going to take, Steve. I don't know how long it's going to take for us to really move through these consciousnesses where we become humans who are aware that we're all connected. I mean, I think at some point we're not going to see taking care of conflict through war. I don't think. I think at some point we'll figure out other ways.
We're going to play a board game.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, you get that border if we win the board game, and it's pay-per-view. We'll sell advertising. It'll be great.
It's going to be just a different way. It's not that we're still not going to be human, but it's that we may find different ways to navigate it, and it could take, I don't know how long. I don't know. But, nobody knows.
Would you say?
But we do dip our toes into it all the time.
Right. So I would assume you saying that you have dipped your toe in, and How do you know?
So when I go to that place where I know that I'm feeling those fifth dimensional energies and consciousnesses, typically it's been in my work, when I'm working with someone and I feel this energy within that knows that I feel complete love and compassion for the person that I'm working with or the person that I'm with, or those moments when you're out in nature and you see nature and you have this huge appreciation and gratitude for the moment and for being in that place. It feels like joy, feels like bliss. It feels like those moments of true, you just feel connected. You know that everything's okay, that there's a greater play and you're part of it, and it feels great.
Mhm. Yeah,
You know,
I got it. I want to tell you. I don't mean to cut you off. I just get,
that's okay.
I'm passionate about that point. I know I need to do it. I never get a chance to get into nature, as we say. I don't know, like 3 weeks ago, uh, I took about 2 hours in my day. I had, some time free, and I went to just a park around the corner. Embarrassingly, it's a mile and a half away, and it's like a mile square. But just walking around, I started feeling, and I had a lot of things going on. I was like, oh, this is good. Wow. I just, I could just lay down on the leaves. It was just a feeling that I hadn't felt in such a long time. And
Yeah.
it's just, maybe, a toe boop, jumped into the fourth or fifth dimension. But I've heard it described as it's just an ultimate feeling, fifth dimension of love. Just
Yeah.
like just joy that's just overflowing. It don't get any better than this, that kind of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I certainly feel very blessed to do the work that I do because I tap into that all the time with clients. I tap into it through meditation and Reiki trainings. I do Reiki training with other people. And so those states of consciousness are something that I get to play in quite a bit. And the more that you do it, the more that you recognize it, the more that you know, and the more that you feel it. So even those small moments, like you were talking about, even those small moments when you're out in nature or you're with someone that you feel that complete connection with, those are moments where we tap in to those consciousnesses. And we are headed there as humanity. We're headed there so that we can maintain and hold those more and more.
Hmm. Where would you say you are now? Are you between the third and the fourth dimension? Are you like pretty solidly in the fourth?
I would say pretty solid in the fourth. In the fourth dimension, you really do get to where there's not as much judgment. You don't judge yourself. You don't judge other people. You recognize that we're all here on our own journey. And how do we support each other and hold each other even in our differences, even when we speak the truth
Hmm.
that is welling up inside of us, right? How do we do that and still maintain our sovereignty and allowance and
Can
recognition of the other?
I got to tell you something. Your hotel room door just opened as you're talking, and light came in. Go look, turn around.
Wow. Oh, that's funny.
Creepy, but cool.
Nobody's
And it's slowly, just like as you just made that point, talking about getting into another dimension, the doors like, oh, hmm. Wow. Interesting. I don't, I believe things there are at work, or and that's almost like the dimension saying, here, there's the doorway to ultimate happiness or whatever it might be. Um, how much, when we talk about moving from the third to the fourth and ultimately the fifth, how much of your intuition comes into play with all of that?
For
The gut
me
feeling. The gut
personally,
feeling.
it comes in a lot. So it's the subtle field of awareness that seems to be where when I know that I'm really there and connected, it's the subtle energies, it's the subtle field. So that intuitive awareness is something that we all can develop because we all have it. We all have that. It's just, how do we develop it? How do we make it stronger? How do we become aware of it? And so, for instance, my husband, who passed 4 years ago, I feel him. I feel his energy. It's very subtle, though. It's a very subtle shift in my field, and I can feel it on my left side, or my right side. My right side. There's a coolness in the energy field, and so it's just becoming body aware. Okay, first of all, in this physical form, but becoming aware of the energy field around us. So intuition plays a huge part. Intuitive vision, it's like imagining. So people ask me, well, what does that mean? Well, when we're kids, we have great imaginations, and it's the same faculty. It's the same concept as using your imagination.
Yeah. I've always, in my journey, heard just be a kid. Never stop being a kid. Always be inquisitive. Of course, creative, but never stop wondering, why is that? What's going on with that? And I find myself being more that as I get older, almost to the point where I hear something, I could Google it. What does that mean? What is it? Like,
right.
And it's like a passion. Like I got whatever it might be. And not just metaphysical. It could be, I hear a song. What does that song actually mean? Got to find out. It's resonating. I'm feeling something. And trying to figure it out. But that inquisitive wonderment, I think, goes a long way. Long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah. Well, somebody close the door. We're not. We're not getting into the fifth dimension. The door has been closed for this time. It might open again, and we got to find a way to open the door. I guess. I don't know. What other suggestions? And I know we've skimmed the surface on this whole thing, the age of Aquarius and the other dimensions, but what other suggestions you have for people to get there, get closer to it, and just feel that feeling of just elation?
I think non-judgment, like, that's the hard part. I think we get so caught up in judging ourselves and judging others, and just really allowing for the fact that we are human. We're all where we are, and we're learning and growing continuously. Some of us slower, some of us faster, some of us, more graceful than others. It's all part of it. It's all part of the play. And so when you can start just letting go, don't judge yourself, recognize that where you are in this now moment is okay. And can you then say, and I want more, and I'm curious, and what does this mean? And tap into the curiosity, tap into the awareness that there is more to this life than just what's happening in front of us, that there's an evolution and a growth taking place, and an expansion, and that we can be a part of that, even if it's a slow walk into that. It's okay. And so, I think that the more that we get away from judging ourselves and getting curious and exploring, and then get curious about the body and the subtle field of energy, because that's where you really do begin to experience the magic, when you get into the body and you begin to recognize the subtle field. And Steve, that has to do with synchronicities, right? There's so many synchronicities that can happen in life. Magic starts to take place. You start noticing things that maybe you didn't notice before. Then it gets fun.
That's great that you said that, because it does. Once you start feeling the synergies, the connections, even our connection, we just met. I had no idea who you are from anything. And once we started talking, we made connections of you're on the other side of the country. You're connected through somebody where I live. Like I'm talking a mile away from where I'm right now, and I'm in an office building, but my house was nearby here too. All of there's so many connections between us. Freaky. The more we talk, the more comes up.
Oh, right.
It's almost bizarre. But not, because I don't even question it. I just like, yeah, of course, because that's the way it's supposed to happen. That's the way I roll. That's the way it's supposed to happen. There's a reason.
Right.
Yeah. But you got to be open to it. You got to see it.
To be open to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you get that car and you're driving this new car and all of a sudden you start seeing them everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
You start seeing that car. You're like, wow, all these people got the same car. Well, maybe it's not it's not that a whole bunch of people went out the same day and bought the car. It's just you notice, like you begin to notice.
Yep.
So synchronicities are happening around us all the time, all the time. Spirits trying to talk to us all the time. Our loved ones on the other side, they're trying to connect with us all the time. It's just whether we notice.
Yeah. And maybe we're afraid. Maybe we're afraid to feel something or know that there's something out there maybe greater than us because we don't know how to deal with it because we've never done it. Hey, I don't know what's like in the fifth dimension. I don't know if I've ever been there before. Doesn't sound like a scary place to be once you get there. Maybe it's a little scary getting there in that the steps you need to take and the truth you need to speak. And kind of what we're talking about today, where, this, whatever's going on with the planets, people are purging.
People are purging. They are.
Hmm.
And it's not always an easy and beautiful process. Let's just say sometimes that purging involves speaking a truth to someone that you need to speak a truth to. And it's not going to be comfortable. And it's not going to be easy. And it's not going to be, it's not going to be received maybe, how you'd hoped. And it's still part of that process of owning who we are, us owning who we are, and allowing truth, allowing authenticity to come through.
Being born is not an easy process. Think of I say it's like, this is like equatable to going through the birth canal.
Yes.
Can't imagine what that feels like for a baby. So it's kind of the same way.
Think about the constriction. So here's the baby, right? And it's got to go through that constriction and that tight spot that's uncomfortable, and it's and to be able to come out, right, where there's freedom. So it's like we are in that phase of, okay, we're not there yet. We're not all in that dimensional field where it's easy or it's blissful. We're in that constriction phase, and we will be for a while. So we're trying to get used to speaking our truth. We're trying to get used to what it feels like to be authentic. We're trying to get used to what does our life look like if we lived from that state of consciousness more and more.
And there's many distractions that get in the way.
Lots.
Yeah. Life, other people, even if you've adopted this, and like I believe I have, I see it. You talked to me 3 years ago, and I was involved in metaphysics, let's call it that, but not to this level and so deep. But I see it. Others may not.
Yeah.
So but they're in your life. And it's not like it's not like I'm preaching, hey, dude, why aren't you in the fifth dimension? What's your problem? What is wrong with you? No, it's not that. It's just the awareness of and what people are thinking around you and how they're conscious and maybe not so conscious of certain things, or that awareness. And I don't judge anybody. We're all on a journey. What do they say? The teacher shows up when the student is ready.
Well, and it's a bit like, people get scared of it too. They hear something, maybe the fifth dimensional field, and they kind of get nervous about it. What does that mean? Is that some kind of religion? Is that some kind of, and it's not. I tell people there've been masters on the planet that have been here to show us what that's like Christ, right? Christ consciousness, Buddha consciousness. Those energies were here showing us what it would be like to be human, living in that kind of consciousness, and that where there's non-judgment and there's compassion and there's a deep love for everyone, other humans, right?
I have a deep love for sergeant majors, and you're like 10 minutes away from seeing a bunch of them going snorkeling. So I just looked at the time there. In Mexico, you have a trip coming up.
I do.
Down the water. So enjoy that. Your website is your name, right? BeckiKoon.com.
Yes. Yep. BeckiKoon.com.
Yeah. And you're there. If somebody, hey, she's working on vacation, you could send her, a little message.
Actually,
it's okay. Because that's her life and that's what she's dedicated herself to. If you want to find that consciousness, or even just maybe help figuring this all out in terms of your life, in terms of energy and all of this, BeckiKoon.com. Have a wonderful trip and vacation with your family.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I am.
So exciting. It just, hotel rooms just do something for me. You could take that in any way you want, but
Mexico.
I like the vacation reason of being in the room is just good vibes. And I can feel it coming from, your video and you. So enjoy, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.